When I was planning today's video, I came across this term that I've never heard of before called doom spending. And what this is referring to is people mindlessly spending money even though the economy is headed for a negative turn. And it's not just me saying this, okay, because literally 96% of Americans right now think that the current state of economy is concerning, meaning that they don't know where things are going to go next. We don't know what to worry about. We don't know what the Fed's going to do. We don't know what's going to happen with home prices. We don't know what's going to happen with unemployment. There's a lot of different unknowns right now. And so the surprising thing is when you still see people spending like there's no tomorrow. And right off the bat, that's pretty interesting because we're constantly being told how, oh, everything is going so great right now. Inflation's steadily going down. We just got that new report, how inflation is still headed down in the right direction. We also have the job market numbers still looking super strong. You know, we have the housing market still positive year over year. So what is there to be afraid of, Michael? We even have the stock market doing well right now. It almost looks like there's nothing that could take this economy down, right? But yet, if that's the case, then why do 96% of Americans know in their gut that something is wrong? That's almost everybody. And by the way, I'm walking over in North Shore Open Space Park. Looks like all the construction here is completely done. Haven't been here since then. And it's pretty cool that everything's opened up now with all these different walkways and stuff. So right now they think about 25% of people right now are doing what they're calling doom spending. And what this means is they're spending money despite all of the economic concerns that are out there right now. And also this is coming at a time when people are going into massive amounts of debt, in fact, records amounts of debt, and we have inflation still running higher than it should be, which is taking a bigger chunk out of people's budgets, and they're still spending money. And it's being projected that this holiday season is going to see record levels of spending totaling about $966 billion, guys. Think about that for a minute. Almost $1 trillion being spent this year, potentially, on the holidays. Now, normally this would be really good news for the economy, especially since 80% of our GDP is literally based on consumer spending. But the reason why it's concerning is because we could be walking ourselves right into a recession right now, and meantime people are spending records amounts of money that they might seriously need in an economic downturn. So it's being thought right now that people are doing this doom spending to essentially make themselves feel better about the current uneasiness of the economy. So it's just kind of like when people don't feel good, like emotionally, and they eat chocolate or they do something, they have some sort of crutch or they drink alcohol, something like that, to try to change their mood, to try to make them feel better. Well, this is kind of the same thing, only it's with shopping instead. And they point out that Gen Z and millennials are particularly vulnerable to this, probably because they spend a lot more time on social media. And in fact, a recent survey of Gen Zers said that instead of cut expenses right now, they would rather live in the moment. In fact, 73% of them said that. They'd rather feel alive right now and worry about the credit card bill tomorrow. Now, it's understandable for people who are just starting out, young adults right now, to feel discouraged with the current situation, you know, with how hard it is to buy a house, with how expensive everything is. But you just have to know that at least one thing you have is you have time on your side. It's not the same as somebody looking at retirement in the next couple of years. You know, you have time to make things better for yourself, essentially. So ruining your financial future right now probably isn't the smartest thing to do over some temporary fulfillment. But hey, I'm not your dad, and you can do whatever you want. I just think people should be thinking twice right now before doing all this doom spending to make themselves feel better about the current state of affairs. And little by little, Miami's kind of turning into California. Have some homeless on the beach, sleeping. Kind of windy out here by the beach today, but I figured I'd come and give you a glance at it because it's beautiful. Now, when it comes to real estate, FHA, they just released their new loan limits for 2024, and basically what they're doing is they're continuing to prop up the housing market by allowing people to continue getting higher and higher loan limits for FHA. And the reason why this matters is because they're accommodating higher home prices. So basically, FHA is saying, okay, well, we see it's more expensive to buy a home in all these areas, so we'll up the limit that we'll borrow you in order to buy a house. Because if they don't do this, then a bunch of people will be locked out of the housing market, essentially. So this is supposed to be aimed at making things fair, so that way people who can only qualify with FHA still have a fighting chance in the housing market. But in reality, what it does is it creates more and more competition, because you have more people vying for the same real estate, which essentially is what keeps prices going up to begin with when we have a fairly low supply. And that's the part that they're missing. In fact, listen to a quote from the FHA about this. They say that the statutory loan limit increases announced today reflect the continued rise in home prices seen throughout most of the nation in 2023. The increases will enable home buyers to use FHA's low down payment financing when a lack of affordability threatens to shut well-qualified borrowers out of the market. So, let's not worry about making housing more affordable. Let's just worry about getting people into more debt to be able to afford it, is the government's approach, which sounds kind of crazy, guys, but that's exactly what they're doing. And this is not really a new thing. They do this every single year. Every year they raise these limits, and by this year they're probably raising it by more than they should. Yep, another homeless hangout right over here by the brand new park. How nice is that? Now, even if they didn't want to, FHA is required by law to update these loan limits every single year, but it doesn't even end there. This actually also applies to senior citizens looking to get a reverse mortgage, because the loan limits for home equity conversion mortgages, which is just a fancy way of saying reverse mortgages, is also being revised up. Just for reverse mortgages alone, it went from a maximum limit of $1,089,000 to $1.149 million. So we're talking an extra 60 grand available for reverse mortgages in just 1 year, guys. That's pretty staggering. And what all these programs do is they just contribute to making housing more expensive. And the Fed is supposedly fighting inflation right now and trying to make it come down, but these government programs are inflationary, meaning they contribute to keeping inflation going higher rather than what the Fed's goal is of trying to make it go lower. So this is something we've seen ever since the Fed has continued raising interest rates, is this continual fight between the federal government and what the Fed is doing, in terms of the Fed's trying to bring inflation down with higher interest rates, while simultaneously the federal government is giving all sorts of federal tax credits and subsidies and different programs like this to try to prop things up, to keep the market going as is, which is in direct competition with what the Fed's trying to do. But even with all of this stuff happening, guys, I don't think it's going to be enough to really keep things going for much longer. In fact, we just got the latest pending home sales report, and it is at its lowest level in 20 years, and the amount of homes that went under contract dropped 1.5% from the previous month. Right now, the pending home sale index is currently at 71.4, which is literally the lowest reading since they started keeping track of this back in 2001. So it's actually more than 20 years that they've been keeping track of this, and this is the lowest reading ever. Think about that for a minute. Having the lowest amount of pending home sales in about 22 years. Maybe even longer than that, because that's only as long as they've been keeping track. That is astonishing. But they're saying, oh, it's not that bad because this is actually better than the predictions, which were coming in at 2%, and it's only down 1.5%. So even with all these crazy programs that are out there, right, we have basically 1% down mortgages for a bunch of different people. You have these programs like I talked about the other day with Fairway Mortgage, where they're giving people $7,000 of free money, a free appraisal, a mortgage rate buy down, a free home warranty. All these extras and goodies that were not even close to being available just a couple years ago that people can get, but it's still not enough to entice people into this market. And this is the overall figure for pending home sales, but guess what? When we just look at the resale market, when we exclude brand new homes, the resale pending home sales are actually down 8.5% year over year right now. It's pretty cool that all this is open and you can walk through here now, because before this was all fenced off and like protected area, and now I guess they made it so that we can walk through it, and it's pretty neat. Now, another reason that these pending home sales are down, obviously, is because of affordability, right? People can't afford houses at these prices and rates, and According to the National Association of Home Builders, only 37% of homes sold during the third quarter were affordable to families who are earning a typical income, which is down from 40.5% in the second quarter. Now this goes back to a point that I've been trying to prove for a while now, which is that you see the median home prices going up, right? You can see it with Redfin's data, you can see it with Zillow's data, you can see it with National Association of Realtors data right now, how the housing market is up a few percentage points year over year right now. However, because there's so few closed sales, like as we can see with these pending home sales reports here, and we know that it's the same situation with closed home sales as well, because there's so few of them, this data actually suggests that because you only have sales that are closing right now in higher price points and people that can actually afford to spend a lot of money on a house and buy under these conditions, it skews the data. The median home price is the number in the middle, right? So you have, let's say the lowest home sale is $200,000 and the highest home sale is $400,000, then the median home price would be $300,000, okay? But you're not getting those low home sales right now because people aren't selling those houses. People that have those houses that they bought for low prices and had the low interest rates, those houses aren't selling, guys. They're not listing those houses for sale. So the houses that are selling are homes that are way more expensive, that were bought decades ago in many cases, and are selling for far higher than the median home price, and because of that, it skews the median home price higher. Makes sense? So essentially what I'm saying is because we don't have that many closed sales, the sales that are closing are so much more expensive than what the average person can afford, and that counts towards the median home price data, which is why you're starting to see the home prices go up right now with the median home prices across the country. Versus if we were in a normal housing market right now and had the typical amount of home sales and pending sales that we normally do, we would likely be seeing median home prices trending a lot lower because we would have a lot more data to pull from. I hope what I'm trying to explain with this makes sense to you guys, because there's no way to actually prove this point other than just using logic, right? If you have far fewer home sales than ordinary and the homes that are selling are more expensive, then naturally the median home price is going to be higher, right? Versus if we had double or triple the amount of home sales that we have right now, and a bunch of them came also from the lower end of the market, then naturally median home prices would be trending down. But there's still multiple offers happening out there. That helps home prices go higher as well, no doubt. And think about that, like people who can actually afford to get into a bidding war in this economy and paying for an overpriced house at these interest rates, guys, clearly you have to have some money. It's not like just anybody can afford to get into some sort of ridiculous bidding war right now. This is being reflected also in the Case-Shiller Home Price Index, which went up another 0.7 percentage points in September, which now marks the 7th straight month in a row that's going up. So naturally we have more and more people turning towards buying a brand new house versus an existing home, mainly because the prices have never been better compared to an existing home for a new house. You can get a new house basically for as low as 6% higher of a premium than buying an existing home, guys. And for some people that might be great. Some people love having a brand new house. You know, it does come with its problems as well. It's not like brand new houses are perfect. In fact, you guys write me all the time of all the different issues you've had with brand new houses. So they're far from perfect. But for people who are looking to buy a house right now and all the goodies and incentives these home builders are giving people, it's no wonder people are turning to them. Now here's something interesting. Inflation is supposedly going down, but at the same time, unemployment is going up. Well, why is this happening? Isn't inflation going down supposed to be a good thing for the economy? The main data point the Fed uses to look at inflation is actually the PCE, which is the Personal Consumer Expenditures Price Index, rather than the CPI. And the funny thing that always gets me about this PCE measurement is how it excludes food and energy prices. So they're saying it went from 3.7% to 3.5%. So yeah, don't worry guys, as long as you don't buy food or gas, prices of things are going down, which to me is always just a laughable joke. Like, really, energy drives the economy, so excluding that is kind of like excluding the lion's share of the economy, and every single person on earth needs to eat, and we all need shelter as well, which has typically been a big driver of inflation. And now that rents are finally starting to go down a little bit, that's probably going to start contributing to inflation coming down. But during this same time frame, we're starting to see the number of jobless claims continue to go up. And in fact, it rose more than expected in the middle of November, reaching the highest level that we've seen in 2 years, guys. Well, where were we at 2 years ago? We were still coming off the highs of the pandemic with all of the stimulus money rolling around. And to see jobless claims hit the highest point in 2 years is showing you that things are finally starting to turn around. So like I was saying earlier, even with all these stimulus programs to get people in to buy houses, even with all of the stimulus money that was given out during the pandemic, even with every little thing that they tried to do to prop this economy up, it's no longer continuing to work. We're starting to see the cracks form. So I think what we're going to see happen moving into 2024 is you're just going to gradually see all these numbers continue to get worse, right? You're going to see housing affordability remain unattainable for most people and keep more and more people out of the market, keep the home sales low, keep all of the market activity depressed, right? You're going to continue seeing the amount of unemployment continue to tick up little by little as people can no longer afford to spend, and businesses need to lay people off, and businesses close down and things slow down. That slows down the economy. It increases unemployment. These high interest rates are also tanking businesses. They're tanking their profit. So when you combine a higher cost of borrowing for these businesses with an economy that is gradually slowing down, it's not a good recipe for their future success. And that's why there's a lot of different reports talking about how by after the second half of next year is when we might tip into the official recession. So I feel bad for these people that are, doing this doom spending into this economy, thinking that, this is going to solve their problems temporarily and make them feel better, because if I were you guys, I'd be saving every penny I could right now for a rainy day, because we might have a lot of rainy days in the future. And then think about this for a second. What's the worst thing that can happen if we don't have any rainy days? Say I'm totally wrong about all this stuff. There's no recession. The economy continues to boom in 24, 25, and 26, and people get raises, and unemployment stays very low, and everything just goes fantastic. What's the worst thing that happened? You have a bunch of extra money in your pocket? How is that a bad thing, right? People like to pick on me saying, I'm just spreading fear and all this, but really, I'm trying to help people stay afloat during these times, and I'm also trying to help people protect themselves in the event things get worse, guys. But if they don't, then that's great for you. You were prepared, you have a bunch of extra money set up on the side, and now you can use it to make investments and further your life better into the future. So there's really no downside in playing the side of caution right now. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.